الحمد لله رب العالمين أكمل الحمد على كل حال والصلاة والسلام الأتمان على سيد المرسلين كلما ذكره الذاكرون وكلما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم صل عليه وعلى آله وسائر النبيين آل كل وسائر الصالحين نهاية ما ينبغي أن يسأله السائلون اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا ولسانا ذاكرا وقلبا خاشعا وشفاء من كل داء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا, and say, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. The scholars of interpretation, Quran interpretation, they said that Allah did not command His messenger nor our nation to ask for something to be increased in except in this verse in the whole Quran. So if you search in the Quran, there is no verb zidni except in this verse, which is increase me in something. So He did not ask to be increased in health or wealth or position. The only thing is what is in knowledge. وقال رسول محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام من يرد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. When Allah wishes good for someone, He bestows upon him the understanding of the deen, of the religion. وقال رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام أيضا إذا مررتم برياض الجنة فارتعوا. قيل يا رسول الله وما رياض الجنة؟ قال حلق الذكر. So when you come upon the pastures of paradise, feed on them. They said, O Messenger of Allah, what are the pastures of paradise? He said, circles where God, where Allah is remembered. إخواني, إن هذا الجمع بإذن الله هو جمع لطلب العلم. ونحمد الله سبحانه وتعالى. This is a blessing that we are here to learn our religion, to learn our principles and regulations and ruling. And this is something that we are obliged to learn. يقول الرسول محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. So it is obligatory on every Muslim to learn his religion. Now which type of religion and which concepts, we will cover this inshallah ta'ala in this lecture. وكما قال أيضا ابن رسلان وكل من بغير علم يعمل أعماله مردودة لا تقبل. So if someone is worshipping Allah without understanding the act of worship he's doing, his deeds will not be accepted. And this is very difficult. We have to understand what we are doing in praying, in purification, in zakat, in al-hajj, in every act of worship that we do, we have to understand it. And of course, when we say understanding is an obligation, we mean understanding of how to purify ourselves and how to pray. And if we have money, how to pay zakat and how to deal with people, so transactions. And if you're going to hajj, we have to learn how to do hajj. So these things are what's called what? Al-ma'loom min ad-din bid-darura. What do you mean by al-ma'loom min ad-din bid-darura? These are something that are essential for every Muslim to learn. Every Muslim. Now we have other things that are not for every Muslim. We will talk about this later on. And keep in mind, as Sheikh was saying in a bit, a person on the day of judgment, he will not be excused for his ignorance. We have to learn. If we do mistakes in our acts of worship, we will be asked for these mistakes, unless we are excused. Now, two types of people are excused only. The first type is the new Muslim. So he didn't have much time to learn his religion, and he died. This would be excused. The second type is someone who's living in a rural area where Islam didn't reach him. And this is very difficult in our days, to find a place where Islam or scholars didn't reach yet. So الشاهد من هذا الحديث, we have to learn our religion. In these lectures, inshallah ta'ala, this Friday and next Friday, we will learn the rules of purification and also of prayers. And this is based on what? On the essentially known from the religion. المعلوم من الدين بالضرورة. We'll not go into a lot of details because these details will be for those who are seeking more knowledge. So we're talking only about the essential things. And the ruling that will be covered here are from the al-madhab al-shafi'i, so the schools of al-shafi'i. Now, in some cases, I will state some differences with other madhab for things that are widely known, to be able to understand what's the difference in between madhab al-shafi'i and the other madhab, but not in all and every detail. And before I start, inshallah ta'ala, let me say that this is my first religious lesson in English language, since this is my second year only in Canada. So I ask Allah before the lesson to make it easy for me to deliver the message from Arabic to English, which will be the best way to deliver it, inshallah ta'ala, to this mosque. Wa bismillah, nabda, inshallah. So, in this section, we'll start by what's called ahkam al-tahara, the rules of purification. What are the topics that we're going to take? We're going to start by what's called the al-ahkam al-khamsa. And this is extremely important to understand, because every action that we do in our life, it will fit into one of those ahkam khamsa, every action. Okay? So this is al-fuqh. These are ahkam al-fuqh. Al-fuqh, simply speaking, is what is ma'rifatul halali wal haram. So to know what is halal and what is haram. So this is based on what? On the al-ahkam al-khamsa. After knowing these ahkam, we'll go what's called al-tahara, the definition of tahara. After that, what are the types of tahara and what are the types of najasat. And then what comes out from every man and every woman. And this is very important because some people do not know if this fluid comes out from me, I need to do wudu or ghusl. So this is actually also, it's good to remind people with that. The third is the water. So after learning about najasat, and that we need to purify ourselves even with either wudu or making ghusl, we have to understand the water that we can use to do this purification. Now, you can tell me that, Sheikh, we have water at home and we can do water purification and ghusl. Yes, but these are essentially known. So in the old days, they had to understand these because water was not that abundant and in every house. And let's assume that we have a certain, I don't know, catastrophic action and we don't have enough water, we have to understand these things. So المياه التي يمكن أن نتطهر بها ثم أقسام المياه, so the types of water. And then we will learn the etiquettes of cleaning ourselves, right? And after that, al-ghusl, so making ghusl, in which cases we are obliged to do ghusl, and what are the rules of ghusl? So al-fara'id, we're going to talk about al-fara'id, so the obligatory actions that we need to do, and also the recommended actions. And finally, al-wudu, we're going to see the rules of wudu, arkan, wal-sunan, wal-makruhat, wal-nawaqid. We will discuss these later on, inshallah ta'ala. I will try to cover all of these in this section. And the second one, ahkam al-salat. So we're going to try to divide these between the two lectures. We'll see how this will go. So first, we're going to start by shurut sahhat al-salat in the next section, arkan al-salat, sunan al-salat, and we can differentiate between two types of sunan al-salat في المذهب الشافعي. We have sunan ab'ad and sunan hay'at, and these are very important. We're going to see them later on, inshallah ta'ala. And then we're going to talk about makruhat wa mubtilat al-salat, and if we have time, we'll discuss salat al-nafila wa salat al-musafir wa salat al-jama'ah. It's a long outline, but I will try to summarize everything in these two sessions, inshallah ta'ala. So starting with al-ahkam al-khamsa, the 5 actions in Islam, the 5 ruling that we have. The first one is called al-fard. What is al-fard? Al-fard is في اللغة العربية ما طلب الشرع من المكلف فعله على سبيل الإلزام. So what the revealed law has demanded us to do, how decisively. فيثاب فاعله ويعاقب تاركه. So the consequence of doing this action is what is a reward. And the consequence of not doing it, so leaving it, is what is a punishment. Right? Like what? Like praying and fasting and paying zakat. Of course, if the person is not excused, so if you're sick, you cannot pray now, you cannot do fasting now. This is another topic. So we're talking about a typical situation. So this is what this is called fard. Now you can see that I wrote al-wajib below fard. Al-wajib is another definition of al-fard في المذهب الشافعي. في المذهب الشافعي الواجب هو نفسه الفرض. So when I say al-fard, it's the same as al-wajib. However, in some other madhahib, for example, madhab al-ahnaf, madhab al-hanafi, al-wajib is a bit different than al-fard. What's the difference? It's the same. It's also what has been demanded decisively to do, and also the consequence of doing it is a reward, and the consequence of leaving it is a punishment. It's the same. However, the punishment of leaving al-wajib في المذهب al-hanafi is less than the punishment of leaving what? Al-fard. This is the only difference. But in a madhab al-shafi'i, it's the same. Al-fard wal-wajib is the same. Now below, I further divide this fard into ayni wa kifai. What do you mean by al-ayni and what do you mean by al-kifai? Now, al-fard al-ayni, it had been demanded of every individual Muslim, just like praying and fasting. Right? The second one, al-kifai, it has been demanded of Muslims, but as what? As collective. Right? So, and not of each individual, just like what? Just like, for example, washing the dead people, the death, right? Washing the bodies or preparing the deceased, right? So this one is fard kifai. So if one Muslim does it, or his friends, his family members, all the society will not be sinned, right? However, if no one did it, all the society, they will be sinned and they will be asked for this mistake. Okay, this is fard al-kifai. Now going to the second one, it's called al-mustahab. We hear a lot about al-mustahab, and we hear al-masnoon, wal-mandub, wal-tatawwu', wal-nafil, wal-sunnah. This is all in the madhab al-shafi'i the same definition. Okay, what's al-mustahab? Al-mustahab هو ما طلب الشرع من المكلف فعله من غير إلزام. Okay, so what the revealed law has demanded us to do, but not decisively. So this is the difference between what al-fard and what al-mustahab. The first one, it was decisively, I have to do it. The second one, no, not decisively, but how? Not decisive what? Decisive demand. So يثاب فاعله ولا يعاقب تاركه. If I do this, the consequence of doing it is what? Is a reward. But the consequence of leaving it is what? Is not a punishment. I will not get punished for doing this. For example, like what? Like fasting Monday and Thursday. If you fast Monday and Thursday, will be rewarded, right? But if you don't fast Monday and Thursday, will not be punished for that. And Qiyam al-Layl wa Tahiyyat al-Masjid, these are all what? Sunan. Now, of course, we can have in one act of worship, farad and mustahab. Like what? Like if we take prayer, for example. We have prayers that are obligatory, the 5 prayers. And we have prayers that are sunan and nafila, right? You can pray them, you'll be rewarded, just like the 2 rak'ah that we did after Maghrib. But if you don't pray these 2 rak'ahs, you will not get punished. Okay? And also inside the prayer, we will discuss this inshallah ta'ala in the next lecture. Inside the prayer, we have farad, which is called arkan. We will define arkan in a bit. And we have sunan. So for example, for madhab al-shafi'i, the recitation of al-fatiha in the prayer is a must, is obligatory. If I don't recite al-fatiha, my prayer is not valid. Okay? Another thing, qawl Allahu Akbar, takbirat al-ihram. So when we are entering our prayer, we have to say Allahu Akbar. We have to say it. Some people think that if I only raise my hand, I'm into prayer. No, it's the complete opposite. Raising our hand is mustahab. So now we know the difference. So if we raise our hand, it's good, we'll get rewarded, it's sunnah. If we do not raise our hand while saying Allahu Akbar, our prayer is also valid because it's what? It's not obligatory, it's what it is? Sunnah. Okay? Perfect. The third one is al-mubah. What is al-mubah? هو ما لا يثاب فاعله ولا يعاقب تاركه. Just like eating and sleeping. Okay? So this is something that the revealed law, it hasn't commanded us to do or to leave. So we have the complete freedom to do that. However, I added in Arabic a word that is extremely important, especially in al-madhab al-shafi'i. And it is what? Bila niyya. So كالنوم والأكل بلا نية. What do I mean by that? النية, which is the intention, is the basics of everything. إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. So the value of our actions depends on what? On the intention behind it. Our intention. So how to do this with al-mubah? How to get rewarded for something that is mubah? Let me imagine this scenario. If you have three persons, one of them, he went to bed, he slept, he woke up in the morning. That's it. The second one, he went to bed and he said, I will sleep now and I want to get some energy to wake up for Qiyamul Layl or to wake up to pray Fajr jama'atan fil masjid. So this person, the time that he will waste during sleeping, it will be rewarded as what? As an act of worship. SubhanAllah. Because your niyyah was to do this act, to do what? To get some energy to wake up in the morning or to wake up at night and pray. And the third person, he went to bed and his intention was, I will sleep now to get some energy to wake up in the morning and go and steal some houses. So imagine the differences. So to be fair, subhanAllah, the first one, he will not get anything. The second one, he'll be rewarded for this action. The third one, he will be punished for this action. The same action, the three of them went to sleep, right? So this is the niyyah, intention, that is very important. The fourth one is al-haram. Al-haram is the complete opposite of al-fard, the complete opposite. So in al-fard, we said that what? We said it is what the revealed law has demanded us to do what? Decisively. Now this one is what? It is what the revealed law demanded us to leave decisively. Do not do it. This is the complete opposite of al-haram. Haram and what? At al-fard. So يُثَابُ تَارِكُهُ وَيُعَاقَبُ فَاعِلُهُ. Like what? Like شرب الخمر والسرقة. Of course, I can also add here النية. Because if someone, he didn't drink alcohol, not because of the fear of Allah, not because it's haram, just because he didn't like it, he will not be rewarded for it, right? Some people say, Muslims, subhanAllah, they say, I will not drink alcohol because I do not like its taste. It's haram. So you not get rewarded for that, okay? And the same thing for as-sariqah. So if you don't steal, of course, if you don't steal for Allah, for the sake of Allah, you'll be rewarded for that. But if you go to a house and you couldn't steal because you saw that the family members are sleeping in the house, so you left, you'll not be rewarded for that. Right? Except if you tubta ila Allah and you said, Allah, I'm gonna stop this. I can steal now. I have nobody at home. The thing is in my hand. I can steal now. And you said, oh Allah, I will forget all about this. I will keep it here. I will go to my home and I will forget about stealing. In this moment, you'll be rewarded for that because you left this thing, which was very easy for you to steal for the sake of Allah. Our deen is extremely beautiful, subhanAllah, which is the intention, that is the basics of everything. The last one is al-makruh. And this is very important to understand. Now what is al-makruh? Al-makruh, al-madhhab al-shafi'i, can be also divided into two categories. What are these two? Al-makruh tanzihiyan, which وهو المكروه عندما نقول مكروه في المذهب الشافعي is مكروه تنزيهيا. And the second one is المكروه تحريميا. What do you mean by that? And what do you mean by al-makruh? Al-makruh in English is the disliked, right? It's the dislike. The first one, which is al-makruh تنزيهيا, هو ما طلب الشرع من المكلف ماذا؟ تركه. لأنه مكروه تنزيهيا. تركه من غير إلزام. So not decisively, just like what? Al-haram. من غير إلزام. فيثاب تاركه ولا يعاقب فاعله. Just like what? Just like sleeping in our stomach and drinking and eating while standing up. This is makruh tanzihiyan. If we drink while standing up, we don't get punished. But if we sit down and we said that I'm gonna drink while sitting down as a sunnah, you'll get rewarded for that. Right? This is the difference. The second one is al-makruh tahrimiyan. What is al-makruh tahrimiyan? This is an analogy to al-wajib عند الأحناف. المكروه تنزيهيا تحريميا is ما يثاب تاركه ويعاقب فاعله. ولكن هذه العقوبة هي دون عقوبة ماذا؟ عقوبة الحرام. دون عقوبة الحرام. So this is something that the revealed law has demanded us to leave decisively also, but not to the extent that it is unlawful, which is al-haram. So the punishment of doing it is less than the punishment of doing what? Doing al-haram. Just like what? Just like praying a nafila after salat al-asr. We know that la salata ba'da al-asr, right? Except if we have qada. So if you didn't pray dhuhr, for example, and we need to pray dhuhr, and we prayed asr jama'ah, we can pray dhuhr after asr. But salat al-nafila هي مكروه تحريميا صلاة النافلة بعد صلاة العصر. Except in المذهب الشافعي, we can pray صلاة النافلة after Asr if we have an excuse for that. Now, what's the excuse for that? For example, if someone is always, all his life, praying 2 rak'at sunnah before Asr, always, right? And he came to the mosque and he prayed Asr directly without praying these 2 sunnah. Madhab al-Shafi'i, since he is doing that all his life, you can do it after Asr. Just like fasting Monday and Thursday. We know that after Sha'ban, Nusf Sha'ban, you cannot fast unless you have days from the previous year, right? You cannot fast just nafila. However, if you are all the year fasting Monday and Thursday, you can still, for Madhab al-Shafi'i, pray, fast Monday and Thursday after Intisaf Sha'ban, after 15 of Sha'ban. Okay? It's the same thing, the same rule. So this is for the al-ahkam al-khamsa. Now going from al-ahkam al-khamsa to al-tahara, we're going to see in praying and in making ablution and making ghusl, how can we see those fara'id, makruh, mustahab, mubah, to know which action I can do and which action I cannot do and which action I should do, right? So going and starting with al-tahara. Now, لغة ما هي الطهارة؟ الطهارة هي النظافة والتخلص من الأدناس. حسية كانت كالنجس أو معنوية كالعيوب. So in short, what is الطهارة? It means to clean ourselves. So cleanness and ridding oneself of dirt. Okay? Okay, of course we have to purify our heart, our body, our clothes. This is all under what? Under tahara. Okay? The second one, which is istilahan, which is the definition of at-tahara shar'an. So how the revealed law define what? At-tahara. هي فعل ما تستباح به الصلاة. فعل ما تستباح به الصلاة. So doing something that if I do this thing, I can pray. I can pray after it. Just like what? Just like wudu, just like ghusl, and also removing najasa from our clothes and our body. Okay? And of course, we have to remember that during our prayer, we are having a communication with our Lord, with our Creator, right? So we have to purify ourselves, inwardly and outwardly, our clothes, our body, and also the heart. People are missing this part. You have to go into prayer and you have to be in full khushu'. It's not hard to be in full khushu'. We can talk about this later on because it's very hard to be full khushu' the whole prayer, but it's sunnah to have khushu'. So to do khushu', to have this khushu', you have to come to prayer and to purify your heart. And just forget everything about life. Now it's a time for what? To focus with Allah, to focus in my prayer. Okay? So this is as-silahan. What we will do now, since we have al-wudu and we have al-ghusl and we have izalatul najasa, I'm going to start by the easiest part, which is an-najasa. We'll define what is najasa and how to remove this najasa. And then we'll go to wudu and ghusl. Okay? So starting with at-tahara, what are the different types of at-tahara? And from that, we're going to go to the different categories of what? Of an-najasat. أنواع الطهارة, we have 2 types, الطهارة من النجس والطهارة من الحدث. النجس, which means what? كل شيء مستقذر على البدن أو على الثياب. Okay? So everything that is filthy, that is on our clothes, our body, that prevent us from what? From praying. So it prevents the validity of our prayer. Okay? So this is الطهارة من النجس. الطهارة من الحدث, so by making wudu or what? Or ghusl. What are types of najasat, or what do we have as najasat? We have, of course, بول الإنسان وغائطه, بول الحيوان, الخمر, وكل مائع مسكر, الكلب والخنزير. Let me translate these, and because we have some details here. So first we have the man's urine and feces and the urine of animals. These are all what? Najasat from Madhab al-Shafi'i. We have also wine and every other intoxicating what? Liquid. In Madhab al-Shafi'i, al-khamr huwa najis. If we have khamr in our clothes, we have to clean it. The third type is what? Is dogs and pigs. Now, I will stop here for a minute. Dogs and Madhab al-Shafi'i is what? Is najis. وهي نجاسة مغلظة. I'm going to talk about this in a couple of slides. In other madhahib, for example, Madhab al-Maliki, الكلب ليس بنجس. So if you see tomorrow after tomorrow a sheikh saying that الكلب ليس بنجس, he might be following المذهب المالكي. However, مذهب الأحناف والشافعية والحنابلة الكلب نجس. Okay? الكلب ماذا؟ نجس. We have najasa. And we have to clean our clothes or our body or our carpet, our house from his najasa. However, keep in mind that even with المذهب المالكي, even if the dog is not najis, we have conditions to have a dog at our home. And the same for all madhab. This is something that not everyone knows. What are the conditions? It has to be a dog that is used in security or in hunting. This is the first condition. Now you can see a small dog and they will tell you, no, this is for security. It's a small dog, he cannot do anything. And the second thing, he has to be outside your house. He cannot be inside. So you have to have a small house for the dog outside your house, not inside. So even in a madhab maliki, it's not najis, you have to have these conditions, which is very hard to attain nowadays. Especially here in Canada, you cannot have a dog sitting in the snow and just sleeping outside. Okay. The fourth one is al-mayta. كل حيوان مات بغير ذكاة شرعية. What do you mean by that? So every animal that dies without being slaughtered in Islamic way. So this one is also what najis. If it touches our body, our clothes, we have to clean after it. The fifth one is ad-dam. And we said here ad-dam was-sa'il. Because if we have little drops of blood on our clothes, this is something that can be excused, especially if we are during our prayers. Yeah? So ad-dam was-sa'il, which is the flowing blood, including, for example, what the pus. And any part of an animal, كل جزء انفصل من الحيوان حال حياته. So if you have a certain animal, any animal, and part of this animal انفصل عنه, so he lost this part, and he's still alive. So it wasn't slaughtered under the Islamic slaughtering. So this is also what najis. Seventh, لبن الحيوان غير مأكول اللحم. So the milk of animals whose flesh is not eaten. Now, of course, nowadays, what we will see in our daily life is urine, is al-khamr, al-kalb, right? And ad-dam, al-sal. So this is what we will discuss in a bit, inshallah ta'ala. So these are all najasat. Now, to learn how to purify ourselves, our body and our clothes from a najasat, we have to understand the types of najasat, the level of this najasa. Now, a najasa, broadly speaking, it can be divided in two categories, al-ayniyya wal-hukmiyya. العينية والحكمية. ما يعني العينية؟ أي إن كان لها لون، طعم أو ريح. So this najasa, it has what? It has qualities, it has a color, it has a smell, it has a taste. Okay? We call this what? النجاسة العينية. So discernible najasa. The second type is indiscernible najasa. هي النجاسة ماذا؟ الحكمية. What do you mean by najasa حكمية? So for example, we had some urine on the floor, but it had dried. And I cannot see it anymore. I cannot see it, I cannot smell it, I cannot taste it, of course. So I cannot at all say that there's a najasa here, but I know that there was najasa here. So I still have to purify the floor, the ground, the carpet, our clothes. I still have to do that. Okay? How to do that? We have three types of najasat. We have what's called النجاسة المغلظة والنجاسة المتوسطة والنجاسة المخففة. What is النجاسة المغلظة? This is the heavy najasa. The only type of النجاسة المغلظة التي هي في المذهب الشافعي الكلب والخنزير. And why it's called heavy najasa? Because if we need to purify our clothes and our body from نجاسة الكلب ونجاسة الخنزير, we have to clean with water 7 times. 7 times. And one of them with soil. And it's recommended to start the first one with water and soil because it's easy later on to make use of the 6 other trials with water to do what? To remove the soil. So this is what's called what? Najasa mughallad. This is في المذهب الشافعي. Okay? Now another madhab, for example, madhab al-ahnaf, it's around 3 to 4 times. When you say that it's fine, now we don't have najasa, it's okay. Okay? But في المذهب الشافعي, 7 times. 7 times. The second one, I will start by al-mukhaffafa, which is easiest to follow, is what? في المذهب الشافعي بول الصبي الذي لم يتجاوز 2 من العمر ولم يطعم بغير حليب أمه يكفي رشه بالماء أو يكفي رشه بالماء. What does it mean? If you have a boy, and this is something that is usually happening with all our mothers and also fathers that are cleaning for their child. If you have a boy that is less than 2 years and he didn't eat, not drink anything but his breast milk, في المذهب الشافعي, if something happened and some of this urine came to your cloth, for example, it is not najasa مغلظة ولا متوسطة. It's what it is, light najasa. So how to do with it? It is sufficient to just sprinkle some of the water on the area that has this urine. And this is sufficient for Madhab al-Shafi'i. Why? Because he's not eating our typical food. He's only having milk. Okay? So this is the evidence of what? Of the Madhab al-Shafi'i. The third one, which is al-Mutawassita, this is the medium najasa, and it's everything else than the dog and pigs and what? And bawl al-sabi, less than 2 years. Right? Everything else that we have discussed in the previous slide. How to do that? We can just use water. It's sufficient to use the water one time. If we are able to see that we have no smell anymore and we have no taste anymore and we have no color anymore. So the najasa is no longer there, so it's what it is. It's valid to pray with this cloth. Going now to the ما يخرج من الرجل والمرأة, and this is very important. So what comes out from a man and woman? I didn't have the intention to have kids with us for this slide, but it's okay. I don't know if they will understand everything that I will share, but it's fine. So what comes out of a man and woman? And these are common between every man and every woman. We have 4 types of fluids. Okay, 4 types. The first one is what? Is al-bawl, which is the urine. Of course, al-bawl, as we said, it's najis. وَيُوجِبُ مَاذَا الْوُضُوء. So if you have urine, we have to clean our clothes, clean ourselves, and then do what? Do wudu. Clean with water. What? Flowing water. To be able to remove this urine. The second one is al-mani. Now what is al-mani? Of course, we all know al-mani. It's the water that comes from a man or a woman, of course. If there is a pleasure, right? And it's emitted when it's a pleasure. Usually if we have sexual excitement, if we have sexual intercourse, and I'm gonna detail a bit the qualities of this water to be able to differentiate between this water and the other fluids. So the water of a man is thick and white, and the water of a woman is what? Is thin and yellow. This was narrated by Muslim from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the water of a woman, it can be also what? It can be also white for some women. The smell of this fluid is just like pollen or daw. And as we said, there is a pleasure when it's emitted. Now this fluid, في المذهب الشافعي, is طاهر. So if you have some mani on our clothes, it's طاهر. So I will pray with my mani. In some hadith narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha, what she did, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it had some mani on his clothes. So what she did is what? Just after it dried, by rubbing the mani, it went out. And then you can pray with this cloth. So this is an evidence for Shafi'iyya that what? That al-mani is what is not najis. Especially that al-mani, it contains the sperm, right? Which is the human body or the human sperm. So all of us originally were in sperm and al-mani, right? So how come it can be najis? Right? So this is one of the evidence or the argument of al-madhab al-Shafi'i. Now, in other madhab, they consider al-mani, most of them, they consider al-mani to be najis. But al-madhab al-Shafi'i considers al-mani to be pure, to be tahir. Okay? But of course, meaning it's pure doesn't mean that we shouldn't do ghusl. We should do ghusl. This is only, I'm talking about the fluid itself, how to remove it from our body, our clothes, and our carpet, our bed, or anything. Okay? The third one is al-madhi. Now what's al-madhi? Al-madhi is another fluid. It's also white, but it is what? It is thin, and it's what? It is sticky fluid. This usually comes out, as we all know, before the mani comes out. This is if we have certain excitement, sexual excitement, or everything else. But the difference between this one and the al-mani, of course, in the color, and it's sticky, and something else, that the desire does not cease when it is emitted. We know that al-mani, when it's emitted, the desire, it will stop. SubhanAllah. But when al-madhi it is being emitted, the desire, it will continue, it will not stop. Now this one, of course, it is najas. And do we have to make wudu or make ghusl? Some people, they do mistakes in this one. Al-madhi, we can only, or we have only to do what? To do wudu. We don't have to do ghusl here. Only the ghusl for what? For al-mani. Okay? The fourth fluid is al-wadi. What is al-wadi? It's not that relevant, but sometimes if you are sick, especially in your stomach, and you're trying maybe in the bathroom, I'm sorry for all the details, sometimes if you're trying so hard, a white fluid will come out. Now this white fluid is what's called what? Al-wadi. This one is najas. However, we shouldn't, or we don't have to do what? To do ghusl. Only wudu. Okay? This is what's called what? Al-wadi. So now, knowing that we have all of these type of najasa, and we discussed the different categories of it, now we come to what? To water. So which type of water we can use to do our purification? If it is ablution, wudu, or it is what? It is ghusl. We have 7 types of water. So مياه 7 هي ماء السماء وماء البحر وماء النهر وماء البئر وماء العين وماء الثلج وماء البرد. 7 types of water that we can use to do this what? Purification. So this is first ماء السماء, which is of course the water from the sky. The second one is the water from the sea. The third one is the water from the rivers, the water from the wells, from springs, from snow, and from hail. So all of these water can be used for purification and can be further summarized on the one statement: the water that comes or that falls from the sky or comes out from earth. As simple as that. Okay? Now, knowing those type of water, we can divide the water into categories. So because those 7 types, they can change. We can put another ingredient to them. So can we make purification with the water that we add an ingredient to it? It could have a najasa that is falling into it, right? So can we do also wudu or ghusl using this water? This is what's called what? The categories of what? Of miyah. The first one is called tahir mutahir. What is tahir mutahir? This is pure and purifying. This is what's known as what? As al-ma' al-mutlaq. So هو الماء المطلق الباقي على أصل خلقته. So it's a water, the 7 types of water that you just seen in the previous slide, that's still the same. Even if it contains some dust, even if it is stagnant for a long period of time in a certain vessel, it's fine. We can still use it for what? For purification. Okay? This is the first type. The second type, it's what called tahir. Mutahhir, makruh. Now we learned makruh in the first slide, which is the disliked. So it's recommended not to do it, right? But if we do it, if we have to do it, it will not be punished for that. Now what is the type of tahir, mutahhir, makruh, which is the pure and purifying but makruh or disliked? هو المشمس بقطر حار بأواني معدنية. Now this is not usual in our days, especially in this region of the world, but it is typical in the Gulf region. So this is what? This is the water that has been heated by the sun. Heated by the sun. And we have conditions for that. The first condition, it should be in a hot land, very hot land, just like Saudi Arabia, for example, or Kuwait. And the second condition, it should be in a vessel. And this vessel, it should be from iron or copper or any material or metal that can be hammered. Okay? So if it is in this vessel and with the heat of the sun and the temperature, this water inside this vessel, it will be makruh to be used. Makruh to be used on human and also on animals. Because what? Because it can result in sickness. So this water can cause offensive odor, for example, because of the sun. And also because of the heat, it can result in what? In skin diseases. That's why it is disliked or makruh to use this water. The third type of water is tahir. However, it's what is غير مطهر. We cannot use it for purification, but it's tahir. So what are the types of this one? We have 2 types. The first one is الماء القليل المستعمل في فرض الطهارة كالوضوء والغسل وإزالة النجاسة. So this is the small quantity of water We're going to see in a bit what do you mean by small. So the small quantity of water that was used in what? In obligatory wudu. Later on, we see that we have in our wudu, we have actions that are obligatory, and we have actions that are sunnah, mustahab. So for example, in wudu, the first ghusl of yadayn, for example, the first one is fard, but the second and the third is sunnah. So if we use this water for the first time, we cannot use it afterwards. We cannot use it afterwards in another wudu, not for the second one. Now, again, this something is not usual nowadays, but however, in the old days, or if we have a certain catastrophe, if you are using the wudu and putting a vessel below you, and the water that's coming from your wudu, you are combining it in a vessel, you cannot use it in fard wudu again. This is to simplify things. Okay? This is it. And this is a ma'ul qalil, not a lot of water. We're going to see what I mean by a lot of water in a bit. The second type of tahir, ولكن غير مطهر, is what is الماء المطلق. The 7 types of water that we have seen in a bit. الذي خالطه شيء من الطاهرات فغير لونه أو طعمه أو ريحه. So it is water, just like the water that we have at our home, the rainwater or anything, or the river water. However, we added an ingredient to this water, and this ingredient, we cannot further remove it from this water. It changed the taste of water, the color of water, or not all of them together, or what, or the smell of this water. Just like what? Just like, for example, juice. Juice is tahir, we can drink it. But can we use it for purification? We cannot use it, right? If we put, for example, tea, it's tahir, we can drink it, but we cannot use it for purification. The last one is al-ma'un najis. What is al-ma'un najis? Also, we have 2 types of al-ma'un najis. Al-ma'un najis, first one, هو الماء الذي حلت فيه نجاسة. So a naja fell into this water, but we have 2 conditions. The first one, وهو دون القلتين. وهو القليل. ما معنى دون القلتين? So less than القلتين. القلتين أو القلتين is what's equal to 500 Baghdadi ratal. This is a vessel or a measurement that was used in the old days. Nowadays, it is equivalent to around 192 liters في المذهب الشافعي. So 190 liters, 188 liters. Some madhab, they say 180. Other scholars, they say around 165. But to be on the safe side, we take it around 190 liters. So if we have water that is less than 190 liter, okay, and a najasa fell into this water, we do not look at its taste. We do not look at its smell, nor its color. Directly, we say that this is najasa, I cannot use it anymore. Okay? This is the first type. The second one, if the water is larger than 192 liters, more than that. If najasa fell into this water, I have to check if the smell changes, or it has a certain odor, or the color changes. If none of those 3, I can still use this water to do what? Wudu or ghusl. Perfect? So these are the 4 different types of what? Of water. Now, which one I can use for purification, as we said? The first one and the second one. The first one for good. The second one, if we have to, if we don't have other water, we can use this one. Which water we can use for our food, for our cooking, and for our animals? We can use the first one, and also what? The third one, because it's tahir, so we can drink juice, right? And also the second one, if we have to do that. Going now to the etiquette of what? Of cleaning ourselves. We have adab al-istinja wa mustahabbat qada' al-haja. This is an Arabic language. The first one, what are the etiquette? First of all, يجب أو يجتنب التبول والتغوط أين؟ في طريق الناس أو المكان الذي يجلسون فيه تحت شجرة المثمرة وفي الماء الراكد. Of course, these are known, but since I'm giving the necessary known, I have to give these. Okay. So what do you mean by that? We should avoid urinating or defecating in roads that people use, where people sit, or under what? Under a fruit-bearing tree, or in stagnant water. Why is that? Why in stagnant water I cannot do that? Because this water, it will be a waste. We can use it, right? We can use it for plant. We can use it for do purification. So we cannot just do urinating or defecating in it. The second one, يحرم على قاضي الحاجة أن يستقبل القبلة أو يستدبرها إن كان في الفضاء. في الفضاء في اللغة العربية تعني الصحراء. وكذلك في بنيان غير معد أو غير معد لماذا؟ لقضاء الحاجة. What do you mean by that? It's unlawful to urinate or defecate where in an open space, just like in the desert or here, and at the same time have the Qibla, so to be directed to the Qibla, or to do what? To have the Qibla on our back. This is not lawful. We cannot do that. We should avoid that. Unless if we are inside a certain building and it is a building to sleep in and everything is in it, المذاهب الجمهور, so most of the scholars they said that you cannot control your toilet, but if you can control it, that's fine. But if the toilet is inside your home and you have walls that is it is acting as a screen for you, it's all right if you are تستقبل أو تستدبر القبلة, it's okay. Okay, these are madhab al-jumhur nowadays because it's hard now to change our toilet. Just like not in the old days, they can do that very easily. Nowadays, it's a bit difficult. The third one is al-istinja'u bil-yasar. So cleaning ourselves using what? Using our left hand and not our right hand, because we need to honor our right hand, right? So we use our right hand to eat and to do things that are, for example, paying sadaqah, paying zakat, using what? Our right hand. But the things that includes, for example, removing najasa or these things or cleaning ourselves, we use what? We use our left hand. Okay, this is from the etiquette. The fourth one is عدم النظر إلى السماء ولا إلى الفرج ولا إلى ما يخرج. So what do you mean by that? We shouldn't look towards the sky while urinating, right? And we shouldn't look at our private parts or what's coming out from our parts. This is from the etiquette of what? Of al-istinja. And the fifth is يكره الكلام أثناء قضاء الحاجة والأكل والشرب. So while you're urinating, from the etiquette, you shouldn't speak. If someone says hi, you shouldn't say hi back, or assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Rasul Muhammad ﷺ, he didn't do that, right? Someone, he was passing beside the Rasul Muhammad ﷺ, he was urinating, and he said assalamu alaikum, he didn't reply. So from the etiquette of al-istinja, we shouldn't speak with anyone. Okay? So this is the fifth one. The sixth one, and this is the last one. لا يحمل ذكر الله تعالى. So if you have a certain bracelet and that shows Allah, the name of Allah, we should remove this before going into what? Into the toilet. And this is from the etiquette of what? Of al-istinja. Mustahabbat qada al-haja. The first one, these are mustahab. What do you mean by mustahab? We just learned this. This is the recommended action. So if you do this, we'll be rewarded for the sake of Allah. If we don't do that, we'll not get punished, right? The first one is تقديم الرجل اليسرى عند الدخول واليمنى عند الخروج. طبعا from the toilet. Okay, so we go in using what? Using our left foot, and we go out using what? Our right. The second one is الدعاء قبل الدخول. بسم الله اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الخبث والخبائث. So before entering the toilet, we say this dua. And the third one, الدعاء بعد الخروج. What do we say? We say غفرانك. So we ask Allah for forgiveness, right? الحمد لله الذي أذهب عني الأذى وعافاني. Now, the second part of it, the second part, which is الحمد لله الذي أذاقني لذته وأبقى في قوته ودفع عني أذاه. Some scholars ضعف this part. So they said that this is weak, the second part. But the first part is part that has been recommended and narrated by many scholars. Now, I'm going to stop a bit for this thing because this is very nice dua. Imagine that you are going outside the toilet and saying غفرانك. So you're asking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I used to think of that many times. So why do we say غفرانك when you are going outside the toilet? So what did we do? Did we do something wrong inside the toilet to say غفرانك? And the explanation of this thing is marvelous. The scholars, they have two answers. The first answers, they said that, and this is the most famous answer, they said that we ask Him forgiveness because we are not thanking God enough for the food that He gave us, and then for the ni'mah that we were able to digest this food to be able to come out from us. Subhanallah. A lot of people nowadays, they don't have food, or they have food, but they cannot digest it. They need to go to the hospital to do that, right? So this is ni'mah. We are not thankful enough. This is the first explanation. The second explanation, wallahi, it is something, for me, it is very difficult when I think of that. The second explanation, they said that Rasul Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was in the toilet, he wasn't mentioning Allah because he was urinating or defecating, right? So this short time that he spent in the toilet without dhikr Allah ta'ala, when he went out of the toilet, he said, غفرانك. Oh Allah, forgive me because I didn't think or I didn't dhikr Allah ta'ala, it didn't go on my tongue while doing this, subhanallah. It's a very short of time and he's asking God for forgiveness. We're wasting hours of our life every day and we're not even asking for forgiveness and we're cool with that. So this is something inshallah ta'ala to consider in our daily actions. The fourth one is at-tathlith. What do you mean by at-tathlith? At-tathlith, and this is to do the actions of al-istinja, just like in wudu, just like in al-ghusl, in a bit, 3 times. If you do it 3 times, this is sunnah. Okay? Now what are mujibat al-ghusl? So when do I have to do ghusl? We talked about the ghusl, we talked about the fluids that comes out from every man and woman. But what are the conditions or the situations where I have to do ghusl? I have to do that. We have 3 that are common between الرجال والنساء وثلاثة تختص بالنساء. So 3 that are common and 3 that are unique for women. The first one that are common is خروج المني. So when al-mani is, when we have mani either from a man or woman, the discharge of al-mani, we need to do what? We need to do ghusl. The second one is what is التقاء الختانين. What do you mean by that? This is hadith Aisha radiallahu anha. This is the sexual intercourse. So if a man and woman, they had a sexual intercourse without discharging mani, they still have to do what? To do ghusl. Okay? Sexual intercourse, so we have the actual intercourse, not only the starting of the intercourse. So if you have the sexual intercourse, they have to do ghusl. Man and woman, both of them, even if no mani was discharged. The third one is al-maut. So if we have death, when a Muslim dies, as we said in the couple of slides before, it's a collective obligation that we need to do what? To prepare this deceased, to wash it. This is ghusl. Now there is a misconcept in our daily life with al-ghusl. Some people think that if they wash the dead person, they have to wash themselves after that. And this is wrong. It's not obligatory for the person who's washing the dead person to do ghusl. However, it is sunnah. It is mustahab. If you don't do it, you'll not get punished. But if you do it, you will be rewarded for that. Okay? 3 that are unique for women. The first one is menstruation, which is al-hayd, which is the natural blood that comes out from every woman, of course, after reaching puberty. And this is monthly basis. After this hayd, a woman needs to do ghusl. Now, the third one, it's a bit weird to have them, but I'm going to explain what's the difference in between. We have an-nifas and we have al-wilada. Now, what do you mean by an-nifas? An-nifas is that this is the blood that comes out after a woman give what? Childbirth, right? This is called an-nifas. And it's called an-nifas because there's a nafas that's coming out from a certain woman. And the woman in this stage is called what? An-nufasa, right? So when a woman give birth to a child, she will have to do what? She will have to do ghusl. What's the difference between an-nifas wal-wilada إذن? The madhab al-Shafi'i, which is very rare, but it is in some cases, they said that, what if I have wilada, what if I have a childbirth, but I don't have a blood that's coming out? So we don't have the blood of what? Of an-nifas. They said, even though if we have wilada, if you have a childbirth, a woman should do ghusl. And what's the explanation for that? They said that al-wilada here is we have an analogy between this one and what? And coming out of al-mani. Because al-mani, it's a child, right? And al-wilada is also what? We have a child that's coming out of your body, right? So they did some analogy between al-mani and al-wilada, and they said that even if we have a wilada without having blood that's coming out, the woman should do ghusl. Okay? That's perfect. Al-ghusl mandub. What's al-ghusl mandub? This is a sunnah. So we do ghusl, but we're not obliged to do that. The revealed law did not demand us to do what decisively. It's what He commanded. Just like what? Just like Ghusl Yawm al-Jum'ah on Friday, just like today, we had to do, we did Ghusl as what? As Sunnah, right? And we have the Ghusl on the two Eids. And we have Ghusl Kusufain, Kusuf al-Shams, Kusuf al-Qamar. And why is that? Now, the common thing between all of these things that we will see now, so Ghusl Kusufain, wa Ghusl al-Istisqa, so Salat al-Istisqa, if you have a draft, and we have Ghusl al-Ghusl al-Mayyit, and الأغسال المتعلقة بالحج. Now, غسل الاستسقاء والكسوفين والعيدين والجمعة, if you notice, all of these four, they prayed in jama'ah. So subhanallah. So it's mandub if we have to pray in jama'ah and big, large number of people to do what? To do ghusl and to go to the mosque, purifying ourselves with a good smell. Right? Now, al-ghusl al-ghusl mayt, we said this in the previous slide. You said that this is not obligatory. This is what? This is mandub. This is sunnah. And the last one, al-aghsal muta'alliqa bil-hajj. So when we do, inshallah ta'ala, hajj, before entering, for example, al-ihram, before entering Mecca, we can do ghusl, and this is sunnah. Okay? Now reaching ahkam al-ghusl, which is the rules of al-ghusl. We have furud wa arkan al-ghusl, and we have sunan al-ghusl, and we have makruhat al-ghusl, the disliked actions in al-ghusl. Now what is al-rukun? We learned about what? About al-fara'id in the first slide. We said that al-fard is what the revealed law has demanded us to do decisively, right? Which is the consequence of doing it is a reward, and the consequence of leaving it is a punishment. This is what al-fard. What is al-rukun? Al-ruknu هو ما يتوقف عليه صحة الشيء وهو جزء منه. It's a part of it. So it's also mandatory, but it's a part of something. So just like I said, al-Fatiha is fard in the prayer. So al-Fatiha is rukn min arkan al-salat. Okay, we say that it is rukun. Takbirat al-ihram, saying Allahu Akbar, is a rukun. Okay, because it's part of what? Of prayer. Now, in al-ghusl, we have arkan ila al-ghusl, because al-ghusl itself is mandatory, right? If we have mani or other conditions. But inside al-ghusl, we have actions that are mandatory, we have actions that are what? Sunnah. So the first one is what? Is an-niyyatu 'inda al-bid'i bi ghusl al-jism. What's an-niyyah? The intention. As you said, in Shafi'iyya, everything is what? Is turning around an-niyyah, everything. So when you are going into the shower, you have this niyyah, you have this intention. And the intention in the heart, guys. The intention is in the heart. We're not obliged to do it in our tongue. Now, some scholars, they say that this is bid'ah. Other scholars, especially in Shafi'iyya, they say, you can do that. You can say it on the tongue. You can run it on your tongue. And it's good to have it on the tongue. And in the heart, it will be synchronized and you will be fully focused on your actions. Okay? But the mandatory thing, to have the niyyah what? In our heart. What do we mean to have it in our heart? When you go into the water, oh, why am I going to the water? To do ghusl. To do ghusl. To rafa' hadath al-janaba. To remove the hadath that I have. To be able to pray. This is our niyyah. Okay? So let's give you an example. Let me give an example to differentiate between this thing. And why is it important to have a niyyah? Let's assume that you're walking with your friend, and your friend is ala janaba, and he has to do ghusl. And you saw an ocean, and you throw your friend into the ocean. Okay? And the water, so this is the second rukun, I'm going to see it here. غسل جميع ظاهر الجسم الماء. So the water, it reached all the entire body from top to bottom. With what? With your friend who is ala janaba. So the question here, when he leaves the water, is he purified? Can he pray? And here we go to the first rukun, في المذهب الشافعي. If your friend in the water, he said, oh, I'm in the water, let me just say, okay, since I'm in the water, I'm going to say that I'm doing ghusl. Yes, he can do that. He can pray. However, if he comes out of water and he didn't have the intention to purify himself, he ran from the water and he just started screaming. So in al-madhab al-shafi'i, it will not be valid ghusl. Now in other madhab, for example, and al-ahnaf, it can be valid. But madhab al-shafi'i, because they do a lot of focus on the intention, it will not be a valid ghusl. Okay? All right. So this is for the furud. The second one, let me just explain the second one more details. So غسل جميع ظاهر الجسم بالماء بشرة وشعرا مع إيصال الماء إلى باطن الشعر وأصوله. What do you mean by that? So to wash the entire body, entire hair, entire skin we cannot leave any single spot without the water reaching this spot. Okay, and if a person he has more skins, he has more fat, he need to rub his body to be able to for the water to come to all his skin. Okay, now if someone has a long hair, should he wash all his hair or only أطراف الشعر? We should wash all our hair, and not only the hair that's coming out from here. No, we should wash the start of the hair, all our hair, all our heads, for the ghusl to be what? To be valid. Okay. Now going to and this one here, it's something that we need to, especially our sisters upstairs. If you have certain nail polish on our nails, if you have a nail polish, this nail polish will block the water from coming into our fingers. Our ghusl will not be valid. You cannot pray. And also doing wudu, if you have nail polish on your fingers, it will not be valid. You cannot pray. Even if they told you that this nail polish the water, it will pass through it. For me, and for many scholars, this is nonsense. If you have a certain nail polish, you cannot pray. Now, of course, putting nail polish outside your house is haram. I'm not discussing this. It's haram. الزينة للرجل في المنزل، الزينة للزوج, for your husband, and not for everyone outside your home. So if you need to do nail polish, put it at home. Put it after making wudu, and removing it if you need to do wudu again. Some people, some scholars, subhanAllah, they say, if you put nail polish after doing wudu, he did an analogy with al-khuffain. He said that if you do wudu with your nail polish and ahdatht, so there's something that happened with you and you need to do wudu again. So since first time you did your wudu and you put your nail polish, now it's fine, you can just rub the water on your nail polish. This is something nonsense. Of course it's not. Because the water is not coming into your fingers, you have to remove it. Again, this is inside our houses, not outside our houses. The same goes for also for our sisters. For what? For what they put on their eyelashes, which is of course not the real eyelashes. This is also haram to put this outside our home. We put it in our home for our husband. But even if you put it, we cannot do ghusl, nor wudu with it, because it will block the water to pass to our real eyelashes. And the same thing for the man. If a man is having some dirt on his fingers and he can remove them, he should remove them before doing wudu or ghusl. Because if he doesn't remove them, no water will be passing into his fingers, and the ghusl and wudu will not be valid. Okay? So we have to take care of these things. Sunan al-ghusl, the first one is غسل اليدين خارج إناء الماء. I'm going to explain this. وغسل الفرج باليسرى وما على البدن من قدر. What do you mean by that? So in the old days, they had a certain vessel, okay, and they used to do wudu using this vessel. So what did they do? They put their hands in the vessel and then do ghusl or wudu. No, what they did is taking some water from the vessel outside the vessel and washing their hands, because if the hands contain some dirt and some najasa, it will go into the vessel. Can they use this vessel to do wudu or ghusl? They cannot do that, because we learned that if it is less than 190 liters, it will be najis, even if the color or the taste or the smell didn't change. So subhanallah, the rules are very simple if we just connect all the dots together. So nowadays, of course, we can do it also by doing ghusl. So we start by washing our hands, and we start also by washing our body parts using our left hand. And then we can do also what? Al-wudu. So we start our ghusl by doing what? Wudu. And some scholars, they delay washing the feet till the end of the ghusl, but it's okay to also to do the full wudu at the start of the ghusl. We don't have any problem with that. The third one is تخليل شعر الرأس بالماء وغسل الرأس ثلاثا. So what do we mean by تخليل شعر الرأس بالماء? So we use our fingers and inside our hair to be sure that the water goes into our hair. This is تخليل الشعر. Okay? So this is also what this is also sunnah. But of course, the mandatory is to have the water going into all our hair. Okay, تخليل الشعر, just to be more sure that the water went into all our hair. وغسل رأسي ثلاثا. So just like wudu 3 times, we have to do what? The ghusl also what? 3 times. غسل الشق الأيمن ثم الأيسر. So when we have the water, when we wash our body, we start with our right part, and then our left part. This is from what? Also from Sunnah. The fifth one is تدليك الجسم والموالاة بين الأعضاء. What do you mean by that? تدليك الجسم is what? Is rubbing. So rubbing our skin, rubbing our body, to be sure, to assure that the water goes into all our skin. And if someone has some spots that cannot be reached unless he used rubbing, he should do that. Al-muwalat, what do you mean by al-muwalat by al-a'da? This is what to do successive action, successive cleaning. So if we start by, for example, al-wudu, we start by our head, for example, our hands and our feet, this is al-muwalat, to do it from top to bottom. Okay? Can we do all our body without our hair and then stop for a while and then do our hair? Yes, we can do that, because al-muwalat is what is sunnah and not a fault. The sixth one is ta'ahud al-ma'atif bil-ghusl, and this is what we have just spoke about. So what do you mean by ta'ahud al-ma'atif? So if you have some corners, if you have some joints, we have to rub these joints to be sure that the water comes inside of this, in this part. Especially people who have some fat in their body, they have to do that. It's not sunnah for them. They have to do that if they are not sure that the water will automatically go to that region. And the seventh one is tathlithu amal al-ghusl. So we have to do all of these things 3 times. Just like what? Just like al-wudu and just like removing an-najasa. And last but not least, makruhat al-ghusl. First is al-israfu fil ma'. So wasting water. This is a disliked action. And the second is al-ightisalu fil ma' al-rakid. Why is that? It's the same as urinating and defecating. So if we do ghusl in stagnant water, so inside a vessel, it is disliked because this water, it cannot be used anymore, especially if it is less than 190 liters, right? We cannot use it anymore. So this is also disliked. Inshallah ta'ala, for next time, we will continue with Arkan al-Wudu and Sunan al-Wudu. And after it, we will see Makruhat wa Nawaqad al-Wudu. And last but not least, we will go to the as-salat and we'll explain all the regulations of as-salat. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وجزاكم الله خيرا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I say jazakumullahu khairan to our brother, Sheikh Hilal, or I should say Dr. Hilal al-Muslimani. He has a license in Sharia from Lebanon and has also, he's a doctor in engineering, electrical engineering. MashaAllah, very quiet, but he's part of our Jama'ah. We're very proud to have him here, inshallah. And we ask Allah to make us from those who الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه, those who listen and then follow the best of the speech. And the second part, inshallah ta'ala, will be next week. So the Sheikh was talking about أحكام الطهارة والصلاة المعلوم من الدين بالضرورة, the essential things that every Muslim should be knowing, and inshallah ta'ala he will continue next week. وجزاكم الله خيرا. أحسن الله إليكم.